everything changed the day monsters started crawling out of rifts all over the world. Right around the same time, some people suddenly realized they weren't exactly human anymore. They turned into hunters and started risking everything just to push those monsters back. The crowd started getting really nervous. Everyone knew that dungeon was supposed to be a total nightmare, but the gate just stayed open. Then someone pointed right at the gate. A guy was finally walking out. It looks like he actually made it through. The whole place just erupted in cheers. The dungeon was finally closing for good. That is the legendary hunter Guak Pilsen. He cleared tons of gates even though he's over 60. 10 years after he vanished, the old man finally admitted he is that famous hunter. But he was honestly pretty annoyed that the kid didn't believe him at all. So he starts venting to his buddy. He says this old man thinks he is some legendary fighter named Guak Pilsen. Honestly, it sounds like total nonsense to him. He says a real hunter would never be sitting in a nursing home like this. After talking it over, they both decide he must have been a stand-up comedian back in the day. Then they chat about how they would never take this gig if they were actually real hunters. They end up deciding to go grab a drink together later. Then someone noticed a guy off to the side who looked absolutely finished. He ran over to help him out, but stopped dead when a giant ant suddenly appeared. The guy begged for his life while the bug grabbed his neck. It just chopped his head off instead. The nurse just stood there. He was totally terrified watching this nightmare unfold right in front of him. The ant moved to kill another guy. Suddenly, that armed man lunged forward and stabbed the beast right in the head. He stood there stunned by what just happened. He was even more shocked to see his savior was Guak Pilsen. Pilsen just told him to get out of there as fast as he could. The legendary hunter told the nurse to get everyone out of there. There were just too many ants. He was worried, but he knew he had to face those monsters all by himself. Guak Pilsen just looked at him and said he would not push himself past his limits. The nurse finally felt sure this was the real Guak Pilsen. Now, she really wondered why he was hiding out at a nursing home. The sun was setting, but the giant bugs kept crawling out of that portal. Guak Pilong watched quietly. He wondered how the guild missed this gate entirely. Then a monster spotted him and let out a shriek to warn the rest. Well, his cover was blown. The old man realized it was time to get to work. Guak Pilong dove right at the ants from above and jammed his blade into the first one's head. Then he caught movement out of the corner of his eye and saw another ant moving to bite him. He managed to slide out of the way just enough to dodge those snapping jaws. So our hero wiped out those 4 ants with just one swing of his kitchen knife. After that, Guak Pilong stood there all by himself in the middle of those giant beast corpses. He felt totally wiped out after the fight. The guy realized he was getting old and really wished he could be young again. But as it moved, the old man noticed a giant praying mantis appearing right behind him. So the terrified leader looked up and asked the bug if it was their boss. The senseless beast did not answer. Instead, it attacked the man and slammed him into a giant rock. This guy looked like a serious handful to deal with. Since Whack Pills was totally frozen, the mantis prepared to sink its teeth right into him. But right before the first bite, the old man opened his eyes and called the monster's mouth revolting. The bug was in total pain. It kept trying to shake Guak Pilsen off its head by slamming him into the trees. Once it finally stopped moving, our hero figured it just couldn't put up a fight anymore. So Guak Pilong grabbed whatever strength he had left to finish the job for good. The giant praying mantis finally went down. It hit the ground with a heavy thud. The hunter started hacking into his sleeve. At least, he knew his combat skills hadn't completely rusted over. That old guy was totally wiped out. He just collapsed right there on the ground. Whack Pitong knew his body was completely shot. He just couldn't take any more. He thought back to how the bugs were easier 10 years ago. It really was funny to die in so much pain like a real hunter. Then a bright notification popped up and surprised him. It congratulated him for clearing the dungeon. It also said it would grant his wish now. Whack Pilong finally got that blessing from the god, and it promised him eternal life. Right after that, his body started to change in some pretty wild ways. The gate started closing up, so a bunch of people noticed and rushed over to help him. Later on, the old guy finally woke up to some lady calling his name. She was a nurse. She explained he was transferred here after they found him nearly dead by the gate. Then she asked who he was. He gave her his name and his year of birth. So this guy just up and shot the lady right there. That actually really ticked our hero off. He looks like a kid, but he told her he is 83 years old. The nurse could not believe him at all, which just annoyed him even more. Whack Pilsung thought she was staring because he looked like an old guy in his 70s, but he actually looked like he was in his 20s. Then he finally realized it. Whack Pilsung took one look at his own reflection. He rushed over to the mirror and was totally shocked by how he looked now. The nurse saw him acting all weird and figured his injuries must have messed with his brain. She ran off to get a doctor while he was still shaking. Right then, Whack Pilsen finally remembered what went down right before he blacked out. He realized this wasn't all just a crazy hallucination. The old man remembered how people usually score new skills after clearing a dungeon. But he had never heard of anything called a blessing before. It was even weirder that this blessing actually gave him back his younger self. After thinking it over, Whack Pilsen decided to find some help rather than just sitting in the hospital. And when the nurse finally came back, the young man had already vanished. Whack Pilong stood right there in front of the giant skyscraper. He realized it had been 10 whole years since he last visited the association building. As soon as he stepped inside, the legendary hunter noticed that everything looked completely different. Whack Pilsen reached out for some help because he really had to settle things with the association. The stranger pointed him toward a weird kiosk and said he needed a ticket to get a turn. The 83-year-old man struggled with the machine, and an annoyed line started to pile up behind him. Right at that moment, someone put a hand on his shoulder. A tall guy loomed over him and told him to move aside. He said he did not have time to waste. A few hunters in the crowd recognized him. Apparently, he is the infamous C-rank troublemaker from the Metis Guild. To everyone's surprise, the young-looking kid started scolding the guy. He told him he needed to wait in line just like everyone else. The guy was clearly annoyed by that. He reached out and grabbed our protagonist by his shirt. Just then, a tall and imposing person stepped in. He made it clear that fighting is strictly forbidden inside the association. People were totally losing it, realizing this was the S-rank hunter Park Sekian. A lot of them were seeing an S-rank for the first time. The tall man didn't look happy at all. He was clearly annoyed that the association was using someone like him just to keep order. The crowd started whispering about how tall he was. They were pretty much calling him the definition of a real man. He claimed he didn't want the flattery, but honestly, he loved being called manly. Right at that moment, Whack Pilong mentioned that the S-rank hunter felt strangely familiar. The hero thought it over for a second. Then he realized it was Park Dane, and he was totally shocked. The hunter was terrified, but hearing that name really caught him off guard. The other hunters started whispering once they heard the S-rank being called Park Dane. Guak Pilsen mentioned that it had been forever since they last saw each other. He told him that he looked pretty old now. The S-rank hunter started shaking with frustration. He was listening to the crowd whispering his name. 10 years ago, he actually became an S-rank hunter. He decided to get a serious name then, so he started going by Park Sef Chian. That young guy just used his real name. The tall hunter looked seriously annoyed about it. The hero was mid-sentence to ask for a favor when Park Dabin grabbed his collar. He demanded that the guy identify himself right then and there. Guak Pilsen just laughed it off. He told him he had really lost his touch. Then he pointed out they could not fight with that massive crowd watching. Park Dabin actually apologized for snapping like that. Then he suggested they find a better spot to settle things. Then he warned our hero not to even think about running away. His eyes were burning with rage, and it totally freaked the guy out. They stepped into a huge empty space. Whack Pilsung looked around and asked what the deal was with this place. The S-rank explained this is where hunters come to spar. Then he asked who our hero really is and how he knows his name. This kid actually stood there and claimed he was the legendary hunter. He even said some recent mess is what made him look young again. The tall guy wasn't buying it for a second. He just figured the kid was trying to pull his leg. Park Dabin muttered that he tried to be nice. He charged his fist with mana and tried to beat the truth out of him. But the kid just dodged and told him he was way too old to be acting like that. The S-rank hunter was totally shocked by that kind of speed. The old man told the younger guy he should really let go of his temper as he gets older. Park Dabin decided to get serious because looking at his opponent just made him more eager to learn his real name. With that, the S-rank hunter triggered his beast skill. He morphed instantly into a giant werewolf. The monster said he was done holding back. He charged at our hero and dared him to dodge again. Whack Pilsung had to block the incoming strike. He could not help but be impressed by all that power. Suddenly, he felt a chill, because the werewolf warned that its next move would really hurt. Then Dabin slashed his claws through the air. He hit our hero everywhere, sent him flying, and slammed him right into the wall. The S-rank hunter watched it happen. He seemed pretty satisfied, but then he realized he might have pushed things too far. To everyone's surprise, our smiling hero said that peaceful vibe is officially over. He planted his feet and charged. The monster was stunned. Even his S-rank strength barely left a scratch. Whack Pilsum warned him about a sting. Then he landed a solid punch to the jaw, sending the guy flying. A while went by, and the werewolf was still just lying there. That started to worry him. He actually thought he might have accidentally killed the guy. Davin was in his 20s then. He just figured hunters were sweaty muscle heads who had zero style. He thought back to our hero checking on him, sitting right there on a mountain of dead giant monsters. Davin was totally stunned. Seeing him like this made him realize his master had this incredible, majestic power. He thought it was honestly beautiful. The S-rank hunter opened his eyes and finally saw the old man's real face. He jumped back in surprise. Then he saw that young guy looking relieved that he was still alive. Whack Pilsen started scolding the loser for attacking him out of nowhere. He told him he expected much better than that. That is when Park Davin finally realized who he was facing. The guy really was that legendary hunter he had heard about. So, our hero finally explained everything to the hunter. The guy seemed pretty interested in how he got that blessing. Dabin says blessings are different from regular skills. They stay active all the time, which is actually a big deal. Whack Pilsen is totally new to this whole blessing thing. He noticed that even T-Ban seems a little confused about it too. The tall hunter felt bad and ended up apologizing to the old man. He just could not find a way to help him out. Whack Pilsung finally told Park Dabin to put on a shirt. It was weird watching him admire his own body. Dabin claimed he lost his clothes when he transformed. The old man told him not to overthink it. He said the world is just plain weird with all these gates now. The only important thing is that he got his youth back. The S-rank hero was honestly overjoyed and asked Pailong to rejoin the association. He promised that everyone would be thrilled to have him back. But the mood shifted the second the old man addressed him. The air in the room just got a whole lot heavier. Davin was pretty shocked that Pilsen wanted his return kept quiet. He even asked if he knew the real reason for his sudden retirement. The S-rank was stunned. The master asked if he remembered the names Taeyong Biamic and Jun. He wore such a sad look on his face. Whack Pilsen thought back to those days. They literally gave their lives just to keep him alive through all those dungeons. Park Dabin nodded firmly. He said he would have done the same because the old man meant everything to them. Then he got a shock. The hero admitted that this exact loyalty was the main reason he decided to retire. He explained that he got a bit too famous for his own good back then. It made him feel guilty watching young kids throw their lives away just to protect him. Whack Pilsen was terrified of going through that all over again. He told himself he could not stand to watch more young people sacrifice their future for his sake. The S-rank hunter totally got where he was coming from. He promised to keep the old man's return a secret, just like he wanted. I asked the old man what his next move was. He just said he is still thinking about it. Then Dabin spoke up and told him that he actually needs a favor. Later on in the green forest, Whack Pilson remembered something. The color green means you are a D-rank hunter. This trick was perfect. It made showing off his rank so much easier. He thought back to the start. Park Dabin had actually asked him to investigate during a raid. The S-rank hunter admitted he was stressed about the case. He said having him nearby would help him stay calm, even without knowing the details. Whack Pylong agreed to help out. The tall guy wanted to keep his strength ready, just in case things got ugly. He was just starting to wonder when he would actually need that power. Suddenly, someone rude bumped right into him. The thug got pretty annoyed when the guy told him he should apologize. Then he started bragging about his rank. He claimed he was almost a C rank and told our hero he should be scared. That thug was actually Wang Scorpion. He used to be a D-rank hunter and runs the Scorpion gang. He told our rookies they should run away while they still have the chance. The three of them just kept walking. They were busy laughing at the grumpy old man. Running into those three arrogant hunters made Guak Pylong think. It is funny how some people will always judge you based on their first glance. Then this calm-looking guy popped up. He told him to ignore the thugs because they always mess with newbies. Our guy was totally shocked when a stranger named Kim Cheelman asked for his name. Turns out he thought he was just a regular student. Once he heard the name, the guy pointed something out. He said he must be named after the legendary hunter. Kim Cheelman asked for his age, so our guy just answered he is 80 years old. He realized his mistake pretty fast. Then Whack Pilson scrambled and claimed he is almost 18. The guy got so excited. He figured raids pay well since his son is that age too. Kim Chimin started talking about his son playing video games non-stop. The old hero felt it was pretty ironic. If he had kids back in his prime, they would be about that age now. Right then, a really outgoing girl and her quieter friend walked right up to them. The girl with the orange hair introduced herself as 24-year-old hunter Park Jae-hun. Her shy friend is Lee Yoonji. She walked right up to him. He was definitely curious now. Then she kissed his cheek and told him that was just how she says hello. The poor guy had no idea what to do and turned bright red. The older man piped up then. He told him that being young feels amazing. Our guy found that pretty funny though. I mean, he is basically old enough to be her grandfather. But then another voice called out his name. That caught his attention right away. Out stepped a guy in a suit with a huge smile and a katana in his hand. He introduced himself as Kim Tae-jun, the C-rank hunter officially in charge of this raid. And just like that, the awkward introductions were officially out of the way. Kim Tae-gun asked if our hero was close to that S-rank hunter. He noted that the guy rarely ever recommends anyone. Whack Pilson acted like he was a distant relative of Park Davin. With that, the C-rank hunter told his team to group up. He had a quick briefing to run through before they entered the dungeon. Kim Tae-jun introduced himself as the leader. He told the men that most of them were D-rank rookies. He also played it nice by saying they had plenty of room to grow. The C-rank hunter insisted that they follow his lead if they wanted to survive. He pointed out that D-rank dungeons are unpredictable. Even if they aren't always lethal, he told them to listen up to keep the raid profitable. One of the thugs rolled his eyes and called him dramatic. The old man scolded him for not taking prep work seriously. Just as the redhead was about to lose it, someone cut them off. Wang Scorpion insisted they should take it easy on our guy since he is a total rookie. He figured the real pros could handle the danger. Watching that go down made the thug and his sidekick look like complete clowns to the legendary hunter. And with that, the recap wraps up. So it was finally time for the crew to head into the gate. The sun was out and shining super bright today. That glowing magical archway was actually the entrance to this D-rank dungeon. So they walked inside and realized they were stuck in the middle of a massive desert. Hunter Park joked that he should have packed some sunscreen. Wang Scorpion just wanted to finish this fast so he could grab a cold drink. Whack Pilson took off his coat right away. The party leader said, "We are finally starting, once everyone is safely inside." Our guy noticed the Scorpion gang casually planning their post-raid party. He had to scold them for being so reckless. That sight brought back a memory of a younger Park, Davin looking absolutely exhausted. The guy admitted the raid was way tougher than he thought. He really expected an easy walk in the park since the gate looked so small. So the old man reminded him that they have to stay on their toes during raids. This is exactly why you never let your guard down. Whack Pylong sat right on the boss and told the kid to always listen to him from now on. The young guy promised he would do it. Back in the day, people used to freak out over dungeons. They just assumed bigger entrances meant way more danger. But now, we can actually measure how hard a dungeon really is. So, the hunters are much more relaxed about it. Looking at how things changed, the hero decided to ask the C-rank hunter something that caught his eye. Guak Pilsung asked how hard these dungeons usually get. The guy just assumed this was his very first time inside. The party leader chimed in. He said D-rank dungeons are great for D-rank teams. He added that C-rank guys like Guak are always there just in case. Our legendary hero smirked a bit. He told them it sounded like they had the whole thing totally covered. The party leader was totally caught off guard. This kid asked him what happens if the whole dungeon was actually way tougher than they thought. Then Wang Scorpion jumped in. He told our hero that nobody would blame him for bailing since he looked pretty terrified. One of his lackeys laughed and chimed in. He told the boss not to put so much heat on the new guy. The ranked hunter promised our guy they were totally safe. He said the association already measured the danger level with their meter. But our hero wasn't buying it. The man insisted the dungeon meter had been used for 5 years without a single mistake. Whack Pylong asked if that was legit. The guy confirmed it but muttered about how annoying newbies are to deal with. The Scorpion boss was totally furious. He grabbed our guy by the shirt and told him to talk back again. Our lead just looked at him coolly. He told the guy he should really learn to keep things quiet while raiding. The man started laughing loudly. He told him newbies are supposed to be scared during their first raid and assumed that was his deal. Guak Pilsung asked him if he understood why he gave that advice. Then a giant purple serpent suddenly spotted the whole party. The appearance of that monster really startled the hunters. Scorpion was left completely terrified by what he saw. The monster got itself ready, then made a dash straight at him. But the hero was ready too. He swung his blade and took the monster's head off in one clean move. The new hunter was totally stunned. Everything happened so fast he could barely follow it. Whack Pylong told him that taking that advice was his best bet. Because the loud hunters always end up being the monster's favorite snacks. The guy got pretty frustrated as he watched the protagonist just walk away. He just could not handle being corrected by some young guy. The worried hunter turned to their leader. She asked if that snake was really a D-rank. She had never seen a monster that tough before. The guy thought that was pretty weird. D-ranks were supposed to be giant dogs or bugs. The leader started getting worried because that purple worm was clearly a C-rank threat. Meanwhile, the young one asked Gilwa what they should do next while they were in the desert dungeon. He told his friends not to worry, saying that patience was the only way they would make it out. She suggested asking the adults for help, but Gil thought about it and said no. This dungeon was way too dangerous, and honestly, the adults just weren't reliable. While they were busy arguing back and forth, a purple presence caught the sound of their voices. The two hunters heard a creepy scream. They froze in place as a giant snake popped up. The beast locked its eyes on them and was ready to strike. They were absolutely terrified. Both let out a huge scream because the hungry monster had them right where it wanted them. Anyway, our hero started trekking across the middle of the scorching desert. The party leader looked super stressed out. He kept thinking about what that girl said. She claimed the monster was way above dank rank. The guy really tried to stay calm, but he was struggling. That serpent looked exactly like a C-rank monster. He thought the dungeon could not be above a D grade. A rookie cleared it with just 1 slash after all. But then again, maybe the dungeon was just wrongly labeled all along. The man brushed off the idea immediately. He knew the meter was always right. He suddenly snapped and yelled at their leader. They had been walking for 30 minutes straight, so he asked when they could finally rest. The leader looked around and saw everyone was pretty wiped out. He decided it was time to let Wang Scorpion have his break. The old man looked disappointed. He really thought the kids could handle a simple 30-minute walk without tiring out. The scorpion boss spotted some fog rolling in. Then the hunter looked up and saw a massive purple snake looming overhead. This serpent looked way tougher than the last. The leader was clearly spooked and told everyone to get ready to fight. The guy eyed our hero and pulled out his axe. He was still mad about getting embarrassed earlier. Their leader was shocked when Wang Scorpion just charged in. He claimed he could take down the snake alone. The guy tried to warn him about the danger, but Wang Scorpion just told everyone to watch him kill the boss. And with that, he just rushed the monster. He was ready to take its life right then and there. But when he went to strike it, Wang Scorpion was totally shocked. His attack did absolutely nothing to the serpent. Wak Pilsung thought the idea of attacking a defending monster was pathetic. He realized how pitiful these hunters really were. Looking at that, the guy figured he was totally done for. But right as the monster lunged, their leader swooped in to save him. He checked to make sure his teammate was okay. The leader let out a sigh of relief when he saw the guy was completely unhurt. He told his men to stand down. Since he was the only S-rank hunter, he knew this monster was his problem alone. Then the guy in the suit charged at the beast. He jumped and swung his katana, but he was shocked when it did nothing, just like the axe earlier. Suddenly, someone screamed at him to aim for the serpent's head. The hunter was intrigued by the advice. He found the right spot and used the monster's body like a trampoline. He leaped high into the air, fully determined to take the beast down. And with that, the leader finally managed to cut the monster's head off in 1 clean slash. Just like that, the giant snake was done for, and everyone felt so relieved and happy. Wak Pilsen walked over to the winner to make sure he was doing okay. The party leader gave all the credit to the younger guy for this win. He admitted that without him, he would not have survived the serpent. Thanks to his help, he took the boss down easily. Then Hunter Park asked if that meant the raid was officially over. The party leader just nodded and assumed that was the case. But you could see the worry in her eyes. The girl pointed out that something felt off because nothing unusual was actually happening. The party leader froze because something felt off. They killed the boss, but no notification popped up on his screen. Panic hit him hard when he saw more trouble. 2 purple monsters crawled out from behind the rocks right then. This was supposed to be a low-rank dungeon. He is a C rank, yet he barely survived that fight, and it was not even the boss. Our hero just said the answer is obvious. He pointed out that this dungeon is way tougher than a D rank tier. Meanwhile, the team leader is still in full denial about the association getting the danger level wrong. He and his guys started prepping for the fight, but the C rank hunter was just standing there, honestly totally lost by how weird this whole thing is. The middle-aged guy turned to the team leader. He warned him that they have monsters sneaking up on them from behind. So Kim finally had to admit it. This dungeon was way too much for a guy like Dank. He told the men to get out of there. Too many of them were going to die otherwise. They needed backup, and they needed it now. Guok Pilsen looked at him and just smiled. He was actually impressed by how responsible this young hunter was being. As they kept walking for a while, Wang Scorpion started losing his breath. So he started yelling at the team leader for escaping a D rank dungeon despite his high rank. The guy in the suit just told the group that this dungeon was way harder than a D rank. The Scorpion boss was in total disbelief. This was supposed to be a D rank dungeon, yet the hero just took down one of its monsters without breaking a sweat. The guy insisted he wasn't afraid of the snakes. He just claimed the whole thing caught him off guard earlier. Right then, a weird scraping sound echoed out of a nearby cave. It really freaked him out. Everyone was on edge and waiting for a monster to jump from the dark. But then a human stepped out asking for help. The girl looked like she had been through a lot. She was clearly desperate for some assistance. Hunter Park didn't hesitate for a second. He rushed over to check if she was okay. The girl suddenly begged the hunters to save her friend. The guy holding her looked totally confused by the request. She explained that a giant snake ambushed them both. Her friend got hurt while he was busy protecting her. The team leader was confused about a kid being in the dungeon. He demanded to know why she was there since she was not a hunter. She explained that someone gave them a high-paying job. All they had to do was hide their presence while inside. Scorpion Wang suddenly jumped into the conversation. He recognized the girl and her friend as notorious tomb raiders. The female hunter looked completely confused by his comment. The Kank explained that the term refers to people who sneak into dungeons. They do it to grab rewards after someone else clears the place. The protagonist watched the younglings risk their lives inside the dungeon. He was honestly baffled by what he was seeing. The thug basically blamed the kids for the dungeon mess. He claimed it was their fault these monsters showed up. Their leader cut in and insisted those were actually two totally different issues. Someone asked what to do about the tomb raiders. A C-rank hunter said they needed to save them no matter what. The Scorpion boss was fuming. He told them flat out that saving those kids just wasn't worth the risk. The Lear started to talk, but Whack Pilsung cut in. He wanted to help the tomb raiders. The guy in the suit shut that down fast. They really couldn't just walk away. So, the hero offered to go solo. It was the only way to calm that terrified hunter down. Wang Scorpion agreed. He decided he wouldn't stand in the way now that the guy chose his own path. So the younger guy told the leader to clear out the dungeon. He said he would take care of the kids himself. Whack Pilong showed off some serious skills and even spotted the snake's weak spot. The leader finally figured he could trust him. Then Whack Pilson stepped up and said he would carry the injured person himself. The girl turned to him with a worried look and asked if he was really going to help. He gave her a reassuring smile and promised he would get both of them out safely. So the team leader told everyone to get moving. As they left, the Scorpion gang started teasing our hero for walking straight into trouble. The girl did not agree with them, though. She was actually worried he might get hurt, even if she did think this whole thing was a terrible idea. The team leader really had no choice. With options that limited, he just had to play along. The injured guy hid in the cave and started thinking about his bosses. They lied through their teeth. Still, he only blamed himself for actually trusting the adults. Back then, the guy claimed the pay was just too good to pass up. All they had to do was hide in a safe dungeon. Once it was cleared, they would swoop in and grab the rewards. He even promised that since they were students, nothing bad would happen. No one was going to arrest them over this. They would just get a quick warning. The guy heard that this was his big chance to make things work. Finally, he decided to just go along with it. Back in the present, the guy who got hurt is stressing out about his friend Yansu. All of a sudden he sees something moving toward them. The poor kid grabbed a branch, but Essie braced herself for trouble. Turns out, the one walking in was actually human. The boy was pretty curious when a stranger stepped into the cave. The girl introduced our hero as the hunter who came to help them, but Gilwa had a hard time believing her because he looked way too young. That really set the old man off. He went over and smacked the boy on the head. Guak Pilsaw told the rude kid exactly what he thought. He said a child belongs at home studying and not playing around in a dangerous dungeon. Turns out Unsu was practically drowning in debt after a flood wrecked her home. She basically took this gig because she needed the cash and a roof over her head. The old guy was fuming when he saw what the bosses were doing. It is pretty gross to see them putting kids in danger just to make a quick buck. So with that, Guak Pilson told the rest of the tomb raiders to hurry up and catch up with his crew. Suddenly, a giant purple snake slithered into the cave and spotted them. The boy really thought they had managed to lose it for good. But he realized he was hurt too badly to run, so he told them both to just go. But Unsu just would not leave his side. The boy told our hero to run away with his friend. The old man was impressed by how brave the kid was for his age. Guasalong said it was his job to protect the kids. He promised not to leave anyone behind and charged straight at the giant monster. The children could only watch in total shock. So the group was still running for their lives. One of the thugs started whining about being stuck in this dungeon. He was pretty mad they could not even fight back. The team leader did not let him spiral, though. He told the guy to hang in there because the exit was just ahead. But then his mind went straight to Guac Pilsen. He started worrying that Guac might have a tough time saving those kids. Doubts started creeping in for him. He really began to question if he should have trusted our hero. Ken Schumann started looking around for the gate. Then he noticed something totally unexpected. He grabbed his phone and called the team leader immediately. This whole situation was directly tied to that gate. The dungeon exit started fading away. Every hunter there was completely stunned. Wang Scorpion saw what was happening. He immediately turned to the leader to demand a plan. Kim Tajun remembered how the entrance looked 3 days ago. Its disappearance meant the dungeon was about to malfunction. The whole thing takes about 7 days to kick in, so the man figured they had plenty of time. The leader started suspecting the tomb raiders were the cause of all this. Suddenly, his party snapped him back to reality, asking for a plan. Kim Tae-jun calmed everyone down by saying the exit pops up once the dungeon closes. The Scorpion boss thought that was ridiculous. There is no way D-rank hunters could clear a dungeon way above their level. So Kim Cheelman realized that failure meant being trapped in this dungeon forever. The leader said the gate might open when the dungeon closes. It is risky, but it is their best shot. He told everyone to cool off and think. Then things got bad. Giant serpents popped up and surrounded the whole group. The hunters were terrified. The first monster charged at them. The leader told everyone to get ready fast. He figured even Danks could handle this. They just needed a plan and some good aim for the heads. The leader asked for everyone's help. Poor Scorpion Wayne was already starting to panic. So Kim Tae-sun just charged straight at those giant beasts. He jumped right at the first one and took its head off with one swing. Then the second snake attacked him out of nowhere. He had to block it just to stay alive. Just then, another hunter stepped in to help. He fired a spell that even our guy had to dodge. The swordsman told the creature this fight was just between them. Then he took its head. Kim Tae-jun looked around and counted the 3 serpents left. The task looked like a total nightmare. Still, he was pretty sure he could pull it off. Wang Scorpion let out a breath. Turns out these monsters were not actually as tough as they looked. But then he felt something. A massive 3-headed purple snake was looming right behind him. Everyone just stood there, totally horrified. They were convinced that this had to be the final monster. The team leader spoke up then. He explained how this monster showing up was tied to all those weird anomalies. And with that, the huge beast lunged at the hunters and whipped them with its massive tail. The Scorpion boss ended up right in front of the giant monster. His gang members were screaming and begging him for some help. But at the last second, that thug decided to turn tail. He just took off running and left his friend to handle it. The poor guy who got left behind looked up. That is when he saw the monster moving in way too close. The monster was about to finish him off, but then a projectile hit it out of nowhere. It was Hunter Park who saved the day. Just like that, the girl ended up being the dungeon boss's next target. The truth is, she acted like bait on purpose. She wanted to give that C-rank hunter a perfect opening to strike. Kim Tae-jun landed a clean hit. He felt pretty good knowing there were only 2 heads left. But the wound he just made on the monster started closing up right away. He was totally shocked when a brand new head grew back in its place. And just like that, the monster was back at full power. So Kim Tae-jun guessed that the head had to be its weak spot. But the 3-headed snake caught him off guard with a massive tail swipe. It slammed him into the wall and made him cough up blood. The markswoman froze when she saw her teammate go down. She started panicking as the boss turned its eyes right toward her. She was seconds away from being eaten alive, but then someone grabbed her and pulled her out of the path of danger. The savior then turned around and started running while still carrying Hunter Park. He checked on her to see if she was okay. The young lady started to blush right when she locked eyes with her savior. Guok Pailong finally showed up to the scene. He told his hard-working allies to step back and let him handle the three-headed monster. Hunter Park was really impressed by him. He asked if she was hurt at all, but she quickly told him she was fine. Just then, the beaten-up team leader called our guy over. He wanted to know about the Tomb Raiders and why he wasn't with them. Guok Pailong checked that the kids were okay. Then he pointed out the real problem. The dungeon is about to go crazy because the boss left his spot and the gate is gone. Kim Jae-han apologized to the young guy, saying it was his fault. But our protagonist told him to drop it since this mess is way bigger than a single C-grade party leader. Whack Pilson actually patted the kid on the back for a job well done. And just like that, the two of them were finally standing face to face. The hero decided it was his time to shine, so Guok Pilson took off and charged directly at the beast. Our hero barely slipped away from those snapping jaws. Then he just swung his blade and took the head right off. That is when the seasoned hunter finally spoke up. He warned him that the boss has a nasty habit of growing new heads. Whack Pilsong was not happy. He scolded the guy for waiting so long to mention such a ridiculous ability. That pushed the poor girl over the edge. She finally lost all hope and just gave in to despair. Even the team leader started to lose heart. He honestly thought they were going to die right there. Then he remembered that old saying about giving up. It only applies when you are counting cabbages. The girl stared at him, honestly baffled by how mid that saying was. Their leader nodded along with the younger guy. Everyone needs to keep their spirits up and keep fighting until the end. Kim Jae-han insisted on helping out, but our hero just told him to take it easy and watch his injuries. The team leader felt better than he ever had before. That is all thanks to our hero healing him up. Myth Girl was still pretty unsure about the whole situation, but she decided to go ahead and help anyway. Our hero was glad to hear that. He told his friends to keep their heads up. If they keep attacking, the monster's weakness will finally come out. So, Whack Pilsung turned to his team and asked them for some backup. The purple boss got ready to strike, and that had all the hunters on edge. Then, out of nowhere, Whack Pilsung was hit by a massive blast of fire. Everyone watching was terrified when they saw him take that fire attack head-on. But as soon as the flames died down, he charged right back at the monster. He told it those tricks would not work on him. He landed a few perfect slashes and sliced the monster into tiny pieces. The middle-aged man and the C-rank leader were shocked. They could not believe he was just a D-rank hunter. His skills were way past that level. Just then, our hero noticed something weird. The monster did not seem finished with the fight yet. This regeneration really annoyed him. He had no clue how to actually take the boss down for good. Right then, he spotted something interesting. Finally, the hero had a solid plan. He jumped up the cliff. Once he was high enough, Guok Pilson gathered his strength and sliced that massive boulder in half. And just like that, the dungeon boss was crushed for good. Everyone just stood there stunned. Then the system pinged the party with a message saying the dungeon was cleared. Hunter Park could not believe his eyes. A wave of relief swept over the group. They were all thrilled that they actually pulled off a miracle. The team leader let out a huge sigh of relief. Our hero stepped in just in time to stop a disaster. Right then, the dungeon gate flickered back into existence. Whack Pilson turned around and checked with his group. He really wanted to know if anyone had actually been hurt. The C-rank hunter confirmed he had saved them all single-handedly. He could not help but notice how the kid carried himself like a total pro. He was already starting to look up to the young guy. But then the prodigy just stood there and said they should probably head home. Later that day, at the Blue Sky Guild, the higher-ups were grilling the report. They could not believe a lowly D-rank wiped out a dungeon way above his level. Kim Taegun handed over his report. He swore every word was true. He really thinks this kid is a prodigy. He told them they need to recruit him into Blue Sky right away. But the guy in the chair cut him off. He said, hold on a second. Even if the dungeon is super dangerous, a kid like that wouldn't stay hidden this long. Kim tried to argue his case, but the man wasn't listening at all. He basically told Kim to forget the report ever existed. The C-rank hunter really had no other options but to say yes. After a quick meeting, he took a breath, then another, and just let it all out in relief. Then, the S-rank hunter told the person hiding to finally step out and show themselves. Guak Pilsung asked if the group leader finally took off. Park Dabin nodded and said his lies should have scared him away for good. The S-rank hunter agreed with him. He said the noise the protagonist made would definitely draw in some unwanted attention. But Guak Pilsung shrugged it off. He said he had no other choice because he only came back to save those young lives. The S-rank hunter looked totally confused. He asked the old man if that report was actually for real. Guak Pilsung nodded. He said the association knows it messed up the rankings and stays quiet on purpose. Plus, he added there are other problems involved, which really caught the guy's attention. The S-rank hunter was stunned. He heard the hero suggest the association is the one pulling the strings behind those people using kids as tomb raiders. He still could not believe it, so he asked the hero just where he got his information. The old man did not hold back. He admitted that he just attacked the tomb raiders' base. That really frustrated Park Dabbing. He knew the higher-ups would never own up to their sins. After all, their power comes from their status and pure brute force. Wak Pailong realized this ego was actually a real possibility. The old man then asked the kid if he would stay quiet about the association's crimes. The S-rank hunter explained they lacked the evidence to take action. He warned that the enemy would grow stronger than expected, so they needed to avoid being reckless. He remembered his master always telling him to stay careful. He asked to see those raid archives, but the man just said no, which caught his attention. Part Din pointed out his D-rank status. Then, he reminded the old guy that only C-rank hunters can see those records. Wak Pills really showed how tired he was of keeping secrets, but the S-rank hunter seemed to love it. He just handed our hero a piece of paper. Our guy took one look at the paper and totally froze. He looked completely shocked by whatever was written there. The next morning things were chaotic at the Hunter Association. A massive line had already wrapped all the way through the building. The guy in charge told everyone taking the promotion exam to line up quietly. Park Gi-hoon was sandwiched in the crowd and feeling pretty nervous. This was her first time taking the test, and she really doubted she could pass. She started looking around and wondered if our hero was planning to take the exam too. She started daydreaming about that lost spark between them. But she quickly pushed the thought away because it sounded so silly. Suddenly, a stranger popped up in front of her. He mentioned that there were tons of hunters around here. Jun screamed at the guy for cutting in line, so he turned around and just showed off his hunter color. She was totally shocked. That bright red glow meant he was a B-rank hunter. Then the guy smirked and pointed out her green bracelet. Looks like she is still a total amateur. Markman looked pretty annoyed. He told the guy that having a higher rank doesn't give him the right to cut in line. Then the B-rank hunter fired back. He said that in their line of work, power is really the only thing that matters. The man just shrugged and said that was the way things are. He called it an unchangeable reality. Then he realized Hunter Park was actually his type. That left her feeling pretty confused. He grabbed her shoulder and asked if she was dating anyone. Suddenly, someone else caught his wrist. The old man marched over and demanded to know why they were causing such a scene. The girl was totally shocked to run into our hero again in such a weird situation. That little encounter made the Bang Hunter jump to the conclusion that they were already dating. Guak Pilsen was left pretty confused by the whole thing, but the markswoman quickly denied the claim. Right then, the man spots that our hero is wearing a green bracelet too. He tries to act tough and asks our guy if he sees his red badge. That really sets the B-rank hunter off, because this young guy is actually standing his ground. The hunter tried to break free and froze. He was shocked to see Guak Pilsung holding him back with only one hand. That really made him question everything. He started to doubt if our guy was actually a rank D hunter at all. Right then, some person called out to backing Huck. They told him he really needed to cut this whole scene out. The B rank guy starts freaking out. He goes off on someone trying to calm him down, but turns out it was just the security guard. The guys push him toward the exit. They tell Beak Sang Huck to keep it cool and not make a scene. He swears he will remember their faces forever. The old guy just stares at him like he is an absolute fool. Hunter Park says thanks to our guy. He asks her if she is going to try and pass that rescue exam. She says she will definitely give it a shot. Promotion exams are super rare, so it is worth the effort. But she does mention she might not actually be cut out for it. Right then, the old man walks up and just plops Hannah right onto his shoulder. Whack Pilson told the markswoman she would do just fine. He asked her to simply do what she could. The girl took his advice to heart. Her face turned bright red and her heart started racing. She does not usually go for younger guys, but Guac Pilson gave her the impression of a real grown man. She was shocked to find it was some yokin. It is this old-school Asian dessert that older people usually love. The hero actually meant to eat it himself, but changed his mind. Then he just walked away. He wished her good luck on her exams as he left. She stared at this surprise gift for a second. She took a bite and told him his taste is honestly just like an old man's. Over on the balcony, that mysterious lady is actually bummed out. She was really hoping to see a wild fight between the hero and the B-rank hunter. Either way, she is totally sure their paths are going to cross again. Back on the ground, the B-rank hunter is getting annoyed. He cannot believe how much raw, inhuman strength this D-rank rookie is hiding. So this guy named Kim In-jun walks in. He is a C-rank hunter who is going to be our examiner for the D-rank promotion. He tells everyone that the session is just to walk us through the exam process. He wants us to know exactly what we are getting into. And with that out of the way, Kim In-jun just dives right into the details. So the first part of the event is all about one-on-one duels for the D-rank hunters. You win if you take your opponent down or just make them give up. Then the C-rank hunter mentioned that the winner gets a special evaluation by a supervisor. The hunters finally got it. If they failed their sparring match or couldn't beat the supervisor, they were out. But a C-rank hunter calmed them down. He said they could still pass if their skills impressed the boss anyway. Hearing that, a tall person in the crowd started to shake with pure excitement. Wong Scorpion was honestly thrilled to finally get his shot at becoming a C-rank hunter. His magic power somehow skyrocketed after that last raid. He was pretty sure he could take on most C-rankers now. The thug felt genuinely grateful to our hero. Since this power came from the hero's own work in the dungeon, he knew his promotion was finally sorted. He checked on his opponent, but he was honestly just baffled. It was the prodigy himself who just grinned at him. Whack Pilson asked Scorpion to go easy on him. That was the moment he knew he had zero chance of winning. Later on, the markswoman started her sparring match. Her opponent looked totally wiped out. She noticed that immediately, so she drew her bow and fired off a wind arrow skill. That move really scared the guy. He tried his best to block the shot, but the impact sent him flying through the air. Just like that, he was down. The match went to Park Jae-hyun. She stood there, kind of stunned by what she just pulled off. The markswoman was trying to figure out her mysterious power spike. Right then, Guac Pilson walked over to say hello. Hunter Park asked if he had already won the match. He just nodded and confirmed it was over. The examiner told his opponent to clear the ring. The girl muttered about how weird this all felt, and that really caught our hero's attention. She told him her magic power had suddenly grown in a really mysterious way. So he explained the boost came from that last raid, even though she was still pretty confused. Whack Pilson told her that killing dungeon monsters lets hunters soak up their magic stones and power. So that means higher rank dungeons give you way more magic, and the stones you get are a lot purer too. Her eyes just lit up at that. She knew clearing tougher dungeons was the fastest way to rank up. Suddenly, our heroes got kind of annoyed and snapped her right back to reality. The guy was fuming. He insisted that low ranks have zero shot in tough dungeons. He called their survival a total miracle. He lectured her on how being reckless is basically a hunter's worst enemy. Hunter Park actually thought she was older than him, but listening to him go on and on, she started feeling like she was talking to an old man. Suddenly, a girl shows up. She hears the noise and assumes it is just a couple fighting. Park Ji-eun is clearly loving the misunderstanding, but our hero quickly shuts that down. He says it is just him scolding a foolish kid. That makes the marksman pretty sad. Our hero just apologizes for all the trouble caused. The lady who thought he was funny suddenly realized it was Guak Pilsen. Our hero was totally taken by surprise. Just then, the crowd recognized the lady as Yu, the S-rank hunter, and began to wonder why she was there. She realized she forgot her manners and introduced herself. She told him that she is the one in charge of this whole exam. Guak Pilsen caught on pretty fast that she was from the association. He asked right away what she needed from him. Uni Young mentioned a rumor going around. Apparently, some beginner ranked D had cleared a whole dungeon by himself. The crowd started whispering right away. They were all wondering if the rumor was about Guak and if it was actually true. Our guy was pretty annoyed. He really did not want to attract that much attention right now. Then Yuniong did something totally unexpected. She actually offered him a chance to ascend to B rank. She told him that if the rumors were true, his ears should definitely be ringing right about now. Our guy wasn't interested at all, but the markswoman jumped in and accepted for him right away. Hunter stepped up to fight him. He knew you have to beat a B ranker to earn a spot. Guak Pilsen took one look at him and realized this was the same guy from the line earlier. Bak Sang-huk was officially a B-rank hunter, and he could barely hide his shock. He finally realized that our guy was the legend everyone had been talking about. The crowd started buzzing once they spotted him. They knew he was almost an A-rank hunter himself. Everyone thought his presence meant our hero should stop trying to skip ranks. The S-rank hunter thanked the guy for stepping up to volunteer. Our hero just nodded and agreed that he really was not ready to be a B-ranker yet. But then he spotted the hunter going for a surprise thrust. He barely managed to dodge it in time. Hunter Bake landed on the ground. He mentioned the young man might be B-rank material since he dodged that. This actually annoyed the old guy. He realized how intense B-rank is for a test he never wanted. The hunter sighed, clearly let down by the guy for quitting before he even started. He reminded him that skipping the rank C test is not exactly a walk in the park. The B-hunter just smiled. He promised he would stop the promotion at any cost, even if he had to break the hero or end him right there. Uni Young thought about how close the guy was to the next rank. It was a shame his personality was so awful, because he could have been useful. She started to wonder how that genius was going to react to his whole situation. Guak Pailong wondered if he could somehow fix the personality of those B-rankers. Hunter just stood there, totally lost on what he meant. Bak Huk was super confused and demanded an answer. Our guy just kept thinking out loud, trying to find a new plan since hitting them clearly was not working. Guak Pilsen mumbled that he was reflecting for a bit. Then he said he was just trying to discipline the hunter. That really annoyed the guy. When he heard that, the B-rank hunter decided he was going to make him suffer. So he charged right at him, ready to strike with his mana spear. Our hero didn't even blink. He tried to dodge, but then he just grabbed the spear right out of the guy's hand. Everyone watching was completely stunned by such a wild move. That was it for the old man. He decided he was going to beat some sense into that hunter for acting like a jerk. Hunter Bake was just getting fed up with that guy and his ego. So he decided it was time to show him if he was actually that good or just full of it. The guy standing across from him had this massive and honestly terrifying presence. He scrambled back to put some space between them. Honestly, he had no idea what he just felt. Facing this hunter felt like being trapped in a cage with a wild beast. Suddenly, it hit him. The S-rank hunter was still standing right there. The guy was getting embarrassed by a total beginner. He decided to ditch his plan and pulled out the big moves reserved for his promotion test. Then he applied 3 physical buffs to his own body. Yoon watched him go all out and was actually really happy. She was excited to see what he could do at his full potential. The B-rank hunter checked his buffs and saw they would expire in 5 minutes. He realized he was in a serious race against the clock. He was just getting ready to go all out, but then he realized our guy was already right there. He was just about to flick his finger at him. Whack Pilson said that physical discipline is the only way to handle rude kids. Then he walked up and gave the poor kid a quick flick to the forehead. Backhook was left totally in shock. He was in pain again. He just could not figure out how any of that had just happened. Just then the hero decided the punishment was not over. He flicked his fingers and sent the guy flying back onto the ground. That B-rank hunter was way too proud to quit. He swung his spear again, but the old man just easily dodged it. Our guy was not even surprised. He knew this brute would need a much longer beatdown before he actually learned his lesson. Suddenly, the S-rank stepped in and stopped the fight. He told the B-rank that the winner was already clear. But Hunter Bake refused to give up. He was still totally determined to keep fighting. Yoon just sighed and said that stubborn guys like him are not attractive at all. Then he kicked the B-rank right in the gut. The S-rank told the B-rank he could leave now with his pride intact. He really gave it his best shot today. Then he turned to Guak Pilson with a bright smile. He told him he was absolutely sure he would win this. Our hero was kind of taken back by that sudden trust. Yan Yang just leaned in and coolly said she only picks the best guys. The markswoman was watching the whole thing in total horror. The S-rank hunter suggested they move their chat to her private lab. He agreed without a second thought. She was thrilled, but the marksman was ready to blow her top. A moment later, she asked them to look past the mess in her workspace. Yoon offered Guak Pilson a drink from the mini fridge. She warned him that he might not like the choices because they were all based on her personal taste. The old man took a slow sip of his drink. Then he turned to her and asked why they were having this private conversation. The S-rank hunter decided to stop beating around the bush. She invited him to join her in the association. The poor guy was totally shocked by the offer. The scientist explained that this group is constantly hunting for promising new talent to recruit. But our guy is totally confused. Why pick someone who just went from broke to loaded? Yoon admitted she had some hidden motives for doing it. She grabbed the veil off the table and pulled it away. It revealed a strange machine that left the old man totally confused. The S-rank hunter turned to our hero and explained what it was. Apparently, it is a dungeon rating meter. Our hero perked up immediately. She explained that this little machine is how the association manages to get stronger. This meter let hunters pick raids that actually match their rank. The old ways wasted way too many men and resources back then. The scientist warned him the device had some bugs. It was pretty clear the association already knew it was not perfect. Yoon admitted errors could happen. He then asked what would go down if the hunters found out about that tiny risk. Whack Pills made sure weak hunters realized their lives were on the line before stepping into a raid. The scientists agreed that was likely to happen. It would shrink the small pool of hunters even more. All these bad things could happen from just one tiny calculation error. But Guak Pilsung insisted that everyone needed to know about the mistake. He figured they might end up as dinner for a monster otherwise. The scientists figured it was only logical to sacrifice a few lives to save the rest. That really set our guy off. He argued that hunters should choose their own fate instead of dying for some mystery. Well, that made it pretty clear. The scientist finally understood that her guest was turning her down. He asked her to throw some insults their way for him, then he just walked off. She actually admired how bold the hunter was, but she wanted to teach him that being righteous usually ends in a disaster. Whack Pilsong walked out looking totally drained. He knew his former student would get so annoyed when he found out about his day. A man walks right up to our hero. He looks intrigued. It is like he is not missing a beat. Guak Pilsong knows exactly who this guy is. The man just gives him a little smile. The master gets a file. He is pretty happy with the results and tells the man he did a great job. The boss looked over and asked if this was that prodigy who cleared a whole dungeon by himself. The guy confirmed it and added that he hit B rank right after taking down backing Hick. So the file was for someone named Guak Pilsen, and the master seemed pretty happy about that. The C rank hunter led him right to his superior. He explains how the prodigy skipped the C rank exam entirely. Our hero tries his best to ignore the angry S rank hunter staring him down. The guy is honestly terrified by his student's anger, especially when he brings up how much the master's popularity just exploded. The S rank hunter asked to have a private chat with the prodigy. Hunter Kim happily cleared the room so they could be alone. Now that it was just them, the furious S-ranker demanded some answers from the old man. After hearing all that, the student pointed out that his master had been tricked by Uni Young. Park Debon explained that the woman was one of the newly ranked S players and a big deal in the association. He said her offer was a trap to recruit someone who knew the meter was broken. The trial was just a cover to make things look official. She probably would have silenced him if he had lost. The S-rank hunter figured his refusal really bugged her. It totally messed up whatever plans she had brewing. Wak Pilong stepped up and proudly took all the credit for that. But Park Davin shook his head. He knew she was way too persistent and couldn't help but worry about what she would try next. So Park Davin went ahead and invited his old master to join his guild. Wak Pilsen turned that offer down pretty quickly. That surprised Davin. He insisted that staying alone was dangerous. He reminded him that Blue Sky was a top guild and could easily keep him safe. But our guy didn't even blink. Guak Pailong took a second to clear things up. He declared he was the legendary hunter who needed zero help. Plus, he was way too smart to fall for any association tricks. Park Dabin just stared at him and pointed out he already got duped. The old man just laughed it off like it was nothing. The S-rank hunter let out a disappointed sigh. He decided he should just respect the old master's wish. Park Dabin told the old man to be careful, but the B-rank hunter just asked him to have some faith. After that, our hero headed toward the exit. That is when a girl walked up to him. That is Park Jae-hyun right there. She is completely exhausted from looking everywhere for him. She looks so proud while telling him she passed her promotion exam. Wak Pilsen congratulates her right away. Then she tells him that he is the main reason she made it. She looked totally caught off guard when he asked if that was the only reason she came. Blushing hard, she insisted she just wanted to thank him for giving her the courage she needed. She said she spent a while looking for him once she heard he joined the C ranks. The marksman tried to steer the conversation elsewhere. He asked if our guy showed up because he got an invite to the Blue Sky Guild. He totally shut down the offer. He planned on staying guildless, which honestly left the girl pretty shocked. Then this guy named Lee Hyuhan showed up. He was a shady hunter from Human Resources at the Northern Light Guild. That name actually grabbed his attention. Lee Hwan mentions his guild is actually ranked 11th. He says they are looking to recruit a really talented hero. Guak Pilsen gives him a look like he does not believe it. The guy just nods and doubles down on that ranking. He notices our guy has not joined any guild yet. He asks if he has any plans. Our hero just stays quiet for a second. Then he tells them he actually prefers working on his own. Lee Hwan panicked and stopped Guak Pilsen. He begged him to just sit through the presentation before saying no. That really caught Park Jae-hyun's attention. Lewin explained that Northern Light was doing a presentation to get on the hunter's radar. He added that they were actually giving away free C-rank weapons to everyone who showed up. The markswoman was super excited about the free gear. She asked what the guild gets out of being so generous. Lee Hwan said it's just to recruit hunters and boost their reputation. Guak Pilsen stood there totally confused, but his friend insisted they check out the event right away. They arrived, and the girl was buzzing with excitement. She loved seeing so many people in the 11th best guild. Our tiger hero just complained about being dragged along. Party claimed they could grab a free weapon here, but our hero honestly did not think it was worth the effort. The girl looked annoyed as she explained she just wanted a free gift. Our hero pointed out that this giveaway seemed pretty suspicious to him. The other people there refused to admit anything was wrong. They could not believe a top guild like Northern Light would pull something shady. Our hero was totally confused. He realized how simple the girl was and just how weird this whole situation had become. So Hunter Park looked around the room they were waiting in. It was completely empty, which really caught his attention. Then all of a sudden a laugh just started echoing out of nowhere. And it turned out to be Lee Hyun there to welcome them. Just when Guak Pilsen asked for an answer, a group of armed guys showed up. Hunter Park was right there in the mix with them. Then these mysterious men announced that the enrollment process was officially starting. So in this weird spot, our hero spoke up. He told them they could not just force people to join the Northern Light. Lee Hwan kept insisting that nobody was going to get hurt if they just signed those guild papers. Gwasilson wanted to know what would happen if they actually said no to him. The shady guy just snapped his fingers and explained exactly how bad things were going to get. The guys got ready to attack. Lee Hwan told him he was about to show him exactly why he needed to agree. Hunter Park started to lose his cool right then and there. And to the guy's absolute shock, our hero just went ahead and agreed. Wack Pilsen promised he would sign the papers. He handed them over while thinking about the curse. A contract like this would turn the prodigy into a puppet. But Guak Pailong surprised him. He demanded to meet the guildmaster first since he wanted to know who he was working for. Lewin went along with it, though he was sure our hero's plan was bound to fail. They reached out to the guildmaster right after. He promised to head over pretty quickly. Kavong Hun leads the Northern Light. He was actually quite happy with how Lee Wan was doing. The guy told our heroes that the guildmaster is going to show up any second now. The markswoman saw the look on that goon's face and felt bad. She apologized to our lead for dragging him into this whole mess. But Guak Pailong shook it off. He said it was his fault because Lee Hyun came here for him. He was the one they were actually after. The scared girl looked at the prodigy and asked if he was really going to sign that paper. He gave her a reassuring smile and told her not to worry. He said he would handle the whole mess personally. Then out of nowhere, a super loud laugh just erupted in the middle of the room. The guild master just showed up. He introduced himself to our hero and welcomed him to the Northern Light. All the members bowed in respect right then. Lai Hyun was totally stunned when our hero just asked if Ko Young-hun was really in charge. That made him furious. He started yelling and demanded some respect for his boss, but someone stopped him before things got worse. The A-rank hunter said he didn't mind the guy's blunt attitude. He actually liked it. He leaned in and put his hand on our hero's shoulder. He told him he had really high hopes for his future. Wack Pilong just looked at him and asked if he always made it a habit to lie to people. The guild master shrugged and said he only did it for his guild. He mentioned they are ranked 11th in the country. He admitted they cannot climb any higher without an S-rank member. Then he told our hero that he might just have what it takes to reach that level. That is exactly why he went to such extreme lengths to recruit top talent. He kept insisting his guild would really benefit from having such a prodigy. Then Wack Pilsum calmly asked the guy if those were his final words. You could see the shock on the faces of him and his henchmen. One of the guys tried to walk up to the old man. The geezer grabbed his hand and smashed his elbow right into the guy's face. Everyone just stood there, completely shocked by how fast those reflexes were. The old man pointed out that the Northern Light calls itself a top guild, yet they force hunters to join. He pointed right at their leader and called them all criminals who are just wearing hunter masks. That really annoyed the shady guy. He was furious at Guak Pilsen for acting so high and mighty. So he figured it was time to teach him a little humility. He went straight for the protagonist using his special skill, which was freezing grass. The hero saw that attack coming and immediately went on edge. Lewin started laughing while saying that freezing was exactly what Guat Pilsen had coming to him. Without missing a beat, the hero used his magic to shake off the ice and left the caster totally shocked. He planted his feet firmly into the ground and lunged straight at Lai Huan. Lai Huan panicked and tried to throw up his ice defense. But Whack Pills completely ignored that. He landed a brutal punch right on the guy's face and left him writhing in pain. And just like that, it was all over for Lewin. The guild master was definitely not a fighter, but even he was totally stunned to see an A-rank hunter get knocked out in one hit. It was pretty clear now. The target had been hiding his real strength the whole time after just rolling his tongue in annoyance. The leader of the Northern Light had finally seen enough. He signaled his men to charge the protagonist right then and there. One of the thugs tried a sneak attack from behind. Guac avoided the blade and used the guy as a springboard. Then he launched himself straight at Gu and kicked him in the face. And just like that, 2 hunters were down for the count in the blink of an eye. But right then, our hero noticed the leader of the thugs getting ready to take a swing at him. Guac Pilsen dodged that fiery blade just in time. Then he decided to put some distance between himself and his opponent. Now the guy is holding a legendary weapon called the Fang. It is known as the Fire Dragon. He actually called out our hero for acting the way he did. The guild master stepped up next. He seemed pretty sure he would win now that he had unsheathed his Fire Dragon Fang. Whack Pilsong took a look at the weapon and mentioned how impressive it actually seemed. The thud explained he found it in an S-rank dungeon. It grants him power on that same level. Hearing that the old man scolded him, he hated seeing someone use gear to cover up their own weakness. The criminal was pretty annoyed by that, so he rushed right at our guy. But Guac Pailong just dodged every single swing. The man was getting frustrated since he could not land a hit. The old man just told him the truth. It did not matter how strong the guild was or how good his gear looked. He was clearly outmatched and should see that by now. That made the A-rank hunter even angrier than before. He told our hero to stop speaking to him like that right now. Whack Pilsen pulled out his sword. He blocked the thug's Fire Dragon Fang with ease. The guy was totally shocked. He could not believe a basic sword handled an S-rank weapon. With that, Guac Pilsen decided it was time to teach that criminal a lesson. Ko Yang Hun panicked. Our hero landed a massive punch straight into his stomach. Back in the day, Ko Yang Hyun was seriously stunned to see a guild member just walk away. The young star hunter from Fern Guild looked him in the eye and said he had his own reasons. The poor guy was full of heart and hope back then, but he could not keep anyone around. He really thought being a nice boss would make them come back. Just then a guy walked up and said the strong hunter joined their guild. He basically confirmed the guy joined because he was hungry for more power. Ko Yang Hun was pretty shocked by this. He realized that to be a big deal you have to think way bigger. His old dreams suddenly felt totally meaningless. So from that day on, he just decided to lean into it. He chose to be completely shameless from now on. He saw some really talented hunters and decided to try and recruit them. If they said no, he would get his revenge. This helped his guild rise to number 11 in the country. He stopped feeling bad about it after that. Cutting back to the present, we see the guild master finally waking up right in front of that tall hunter. Hoon didn't waste time and demanded to know exactly who he was dealing with. He was honestly shocked to see the leader of the Blue Sky Guild standing right there. The man started to panic because he never expected to run into someone like that. The thug freaked out when he saw Guac Pailong. His guys were totally frozen and couldn't even budge. He took one look and guessed our hero must belong to the Blue Sky Guild. The heroes were not having it. They got pretty annoyed and smacked the poor guy right on the head. Guac Pailong told him straight up. He said he would not let it slide if he heard that nonsense again. The S-rank hunter stepped in to clear things up. He explained that the hero was not one of his guys. That just left Ko Yang Hun even more confused than before. Then Park Dabin dropped a total surprise. He said he actually owed the hero big time. That is the only reason he showed up to help out. Seeing such a powerful guild master in debt to our guy, he started wondering about his true identity. Right then, the old man grabbed the thug's attention. He asked if they were really forced to commit these crimes. Ko Yang-hu confirmed it. He said he just won his guild to reach the #1 spot. The old man looked him in the eye. He asked if a group built on lies could really be the best. The thug just sighed. He knew he was shameless, but he reminded the guy that his guild only grew because of those dirty tricks. Wak Pailong poked the bear by asking if he finally got the guild of his dreams. That really hit a nerve. Ko Yang-hoon eventually admitted he had no other options. The association system basically backs the grand guilds, so he felt like he had to turn to crime just to gain some real power. Ko Yang-hoon swore from the bottom of his heart that he would do anything. As a guild leader, he wants to make sure his guild prospers no matter what. The guild master was stunned. Someone asked him if he would actually change his ways if the association itself shifted. He just didn't know what to say. But the man insisted this disaster could never happen. He pointed out how the association kept getting stronger as major guilds grew. The poor guy seemed absolutely desperate to prove a point. He claimed this powerful group would never change no matter what. Kyung-hyun just stood there listening. Honestly, he really could not believe a single word he was hearing. So the S-rank hunter turned to our hero and asked if he had a plan. Then the legendary guy dropped a bombshell. He wants to wipe out the organization by building his own team. Outside the door, though, Park Jae-hyun was doing her absolute best to listen in on their conversation. The markswoman watched the young guy with curiosity. She wondered how he was so relaxed talking to a top guild leader. She was pretty shocked to see the old leader actually joined Blue Sky. She mentioned he looked promising, which really caught his attention. Right then, the hero and the guildmaster walked out of the room together. The girl asked him who he really was, but Hunter Kim wanted to know why he hid his connection to his boss. That really caught the old man off guard. Both of them were totally focused on the main guy. The tall one just watched everything from the side without saying a word. Just a few minutes before this, the student checked in with his old master. He wanted to know what happened to those thugs. Wak Pilsong surprised everyone. He said humans need a fair shot to show their talent. He told them to let Ko Yang-hu prove his worth. Maybe nobody ever gave him a real chance before. The old man figured the Northern Light Guildmaster did not learn a single thing from being scolded. The S-rank hunters found that hilarious. Even after 10 years apart, their master hasn't changed a bit. Late that night, somebody was hitting the gym. He was a massive guy and honestly completely wiped from his workout. With that, he finally decided to put the weights down. Just then, a hunter walked up to his guild master. He said someone from the association was there to see him. The man walked up and introduced himself as Yunu Kwan. He ran the violent crimes team at the association. He was talking to Su Guangho. Su led the Grizzly Guild, which was one of the top 10 guilds in the country. Su Guangho told the guy to get straight to the point. He said he did not remember being mixed up in any crimes lately. To his surprise, the man actually started talking about Ko Yang-hun. You know, the leader of Northern Light. Suddenly, the guy grabbed his weight and chucked it at the visitor, but the visitor did not even blink. Su Wang-kavo told Yunu Kun to watch his mouth. He wanted to know why anyone would even mention such a pathetic guildmaster. The violent crimes team leader was totally floored. He just found out someone of a lower rank actually took him down. The guildmaster looked completely lost. The guy just told him he was finally ready to hear the whole explanation. Su Guangho broke into a small smile. He was honestly pretty excited to hear how this story went. So now Hunter Kim finds himself in a really tight spot. He is face to face with this terrifying two-headed cyclops. The S-rank hunter charges right at the beast. He lands a quick slash with his sword, and the monster lets out a painful roar. Next, he leaps straight onto the monster's head. He tries to hack off its horn, but that does absolutely nothing to it. Right at that moment, our hero yelled out for him to aim only for the soft spots. Hunter Kim agreed immediately. Meanwhile, our hero just sat there wondering how they even ended up in such a mess. Honestly, back in the day, the S-rank hunter had literally begged that old man to be his master. Hunter Kim thought it over for a long time. He really wants to be as good as Guak Pilsung, so he went back and begged him to take him on as a student. But our hero just did not see the point. The kid is already working for a guild master. Why would he need to switch now? The kid explained that Park Sukshuk is way too busy to teach him. He said his boss already gave his blessing. Guak Pilsong realized his old student had set this whole thing up. So the old guy agreed to mentor him. You should have seen how happy he was. Back in the thick of the fight, the C-rank hunter actually finished off the twin-headed Cyclops. His master praised his improvement. Honestly, the kid was just really grateful for the chance. The old man told Kim he was cruising toward a B rank. Kim felt pretty good about that progress. The rest of the hunters were not happy though. They started grumbling that Kim was just acting arrogant. They complained that they did all the hard work while he just watched. They even claimed he only skipped C rank because of pure luck. Hunter Kim moved to defend his master, but the old man just stopped him. Wak Pilsung told him to ignore the gossip. Then, he suggested they finally leave the conquered dungeon. The guys started heading out. Suddenly, someone walked right up to our hero. This shy kid walked up and asked our hero if he really did skip Kank. When asked why he wanted to know, the kid just begged Wak Pilsong to become his teacher. He said he really wanted to be just as strong as him. That left our hero and his current student pretty confused. Pilsong was honestly stunned. He asked the boy if he really wanted him as a master, especially since they were total strangers. The old man tried to shoo the shy kid away. The boy just took it and did not even put up a fight. That setup made our hero wonder about the request. It was weird seeing the boy give up that easily. The boy said he would not blame him at all if he turned down a student like him. Suddenly, Hunter Kim suggested saying yes. He figured the kid had his own reasons for pushing past his anxiety just to find a mentor. Kim added that he would actually love to have a new sparring partner around. But Guak Pilsen held his ground. He insisted that both the teacher and the student need to put in the work. That is why he refused to teach someone who was not dying to be his disciple. The kid insisted he knew what he was doing. But then the old man let out his aura and shut him down real fast. Hunter Kim turned to Wak Pilong. He told him he really needed to take the boy under his wing. They asked about his motive. To our hero's surprise, the man stood his ground. He said Dabin taught him that anyone who wants a chance deserves one. Seeing that look in his student's eyes, the old master really had no choice. He let the kid join them for the next dungeon raid. The young guy was totally overwhelmed with thanks. He promised he would give it everything he had. That was when our hero suddenly realized he actually forgot to ask for his name. The old guy introduced himself first. He said he was really looking forward to working together. Then Kim Tae-jun introduced himself to the other disciple. He figured they should get to know each other since they would be spending so much time together. The boy was totally stoked about it. He asked the S-rank hunter to please take good care of him. Our hero had to call Kim Sr. He just sighed. He decided that if Lee Jang-hyun really wants to learn, then he will help him out. A few days later, they were in a dungeon. Guak Pilsen was so confused when the kid told him to move. Then he saved him from being crushed by a monster at the very last second. The shy guy thanked him for the save, but the hero was getting annoyed because his student kept losing focus. It was happening way too often lately. The shy guy begged for mercy. The master just lost it. He was furious that a C-rank kid would charge in without even looking around. Kim Tae-jun tried to cool things down. Lee Jam-hyun kept apologizing. Meanwhile, Guak Pilong was stuck wondering what to do with the boy. He felt pretty small and ashamed by the time the sun started setting. Then, Lee Jam-hwan looked up to see a giant golem. So he figured he would try boosting his weapon with a little magic. He went for the kill, but honestly, it did absolutely nothing. The monster got ready to strike back, but our guy stepped in and hacked its arm right off. He was not finished just yet though. With a quick move, he went ahead and destroyed the core. The younger guy was honestly relieved. He made sure to thank him for saving his life again. But the old man just shook his head and scolded him. He told him to stop attacking blindly and start looking for weak spots first. That left the kid feeling pretty embarrassed. So, after venting his anger, our hero walked away. He left his student behind to deal with his own lack of confidence. His senior tried to cheer him up by promising a better performance next raid. The kid just ignored him and asked to be left alone. Poor Hunter Kim looked really worried about him. A bit later in that same dungeon, someone punched the wall in pure frustration. Li Jiang, Hyun felt his blood start to boil with pure anger. The poor guy hated how they treated him, and he almost gave up right then. But he shook that thought away, knowing he just had to hold on for a little bit longer. Just then, Hunter Kim told him it was time to get out of the dungeon. And just like that, the kid dashed over to catch up with the rest of them. Back at the Blue Sky Guild, our hero started whining about all his work to his grumpy former student. Dabin turned to the old man and asked why he chose the blue sky as his resting spot. Pilsen sighed. He said that with his friends gone or dying, he had no one left. Then he grumbled at the S-rank hunter for saddling him with a student. The taller guy watched him hang around there all the time. He finally suggested his master should just go ahead and join the Blue Sky group. Iher said no again. He told them that joining would just ruin his freedom. The guild master was worried about the association staying quiet on the Northern Lights. He was also really stressed about his loner master. Then Park Sanchio told the old man a rumor. It sounded like he was taking care of things all by himself. Guok Pilsen did not find it weird at all. After all, he knew they were actual friends. The tall guy cleared things up by mentioning the rumors. Apparently, everyone thinks they are dating. The old man lost it. He started yelling and demanded to know who started that ridiculous gossip. The guy claims his own team started those rumors. They just noticed he was acting a bit too attached to this outsider. So the student put his foot down. He told the master they should either join up properly or take a break from visiting. The old man was pretty annoyed. He started thinking maybe he really was just an outcast because of his age. But Park Davin insisted it had absolutely nothing to do with that. Guok Pilsong made up his mind right then and there. He vowed to never step foot in Blue Sky again. Suddenly, the S rank dropped a bomb. Apparently, the Grizzly Guild is digging into his secret past. Hearing the name, the hero figured this guild was just like the one run by Ko Yang-hun. The guy confirmed the 10th and 11th were basically identical. The only issue is their boss, Seo Wung-ho, is an unpredictable S-rank with a terrible reputation. Guok Pilsong told the Blue Sky leader he would be fine. After all, he is a legendary hunter. The students stared at the situation and started to break out in a cold sweat. Later that day, the hero walked in and asked if anyone was still missing. Kim figured they were all there because a dangerous new dungeon had popped up. Li Jiangwan was honestly freaking out a bit, but their master told them they were not there to fight. Instead, he wanted them to bond as a team. That news really shocked both of them. Hearing that made the shy hunter feel way better. He finally looked relieved. The old man realized he hardly knew his students at all. He decided to use this chance to find out more about them. His students shyly agreed with him. He told them that rest is actually a key part of their training. Hunter Kim spoke up then. He asked the group what they had planned to do for the day. The old man thought for a bit. He asked his pupils what kids do for fun these days. They were pretty intrigued. The C-rank hunter finally opened up. He said he just hikes or plays Go in his free time. Guok Pilsen was actually happy to hear that. He felt pretty confident in his own Go skills, so he loved seeing the game stay popular. Li Zhang-Hyun told Ghost the game was boring. Ghost lost his cool and started yelling to defend it. Then he asked his second disciple what he did for fun. The kid just froze up. A bit later, our hero was hanging out in a comic shop, just minding his own business. The old guy figured this was all kids did these days, but the boy just called it his hobby. They kept the chatting pretty short after that, leaving the old man alone with his own thoughts. The boy was feeling pretty stressed out again, as usual. The hero turned to his student and asked why he even decided to join the hunter world in the first place. Lee Jong-hyun thought for a second. He told him he loved comic books as a kid. When hunters showed up, he was stoked because they looked just like his favorite heroes. So he jumped into this life because he wanted to be just like them. When he called his dream just a silly childhood fantasy, the old man shook his head. He told him there is no shame in wanting something like that. The student was actually stunned. He never expected his master to call his goals beautiful. Right at that moment, Park Jae-hyun happened to walk by, and guess what? She spotted him. Earlier today, the girl was getting pretty annoyed reading this comic book. She really felt like the whole story had no meaning at all. The hunter just could not stop herself from thinking about the guy. You know, that hero who looks pretty average. Sure, he acts super cool while raiding dungeons, but that does not change the fact that she is actually into him. He really reminded her of her grandfather from back home. She started wondering what he was up to now, so she excused herself to go freshen up. Park Ji-in was honestly itching to see our hero again. Wak Pilong turned around and was actually pretty happy to run into her right here. So someone finally asked the old guy why he was even hanging around. He just shrugged and said he was doing some teen bonding. The girl thought that was a pretty lucky coincidence. Hunter Park was taken aback when he implied they were dating. She started blushing and quickly laughed the whole idea off. The shy boy introduced himself, but the girl just blushed and gave him a really snappy reply. He stood there confused because he had no clue what he did wrong. Just then, Vanya walked over to check on her friend. She was surprised to find her hanging out with someone else. Kwok Pilson quickly greeted the old party member. The guy told the girl they should get moving since she seemed to be in a big hurry. Then, the hero waved them goodbye. Park really didn't want to leave on that note. She invited all of them to go karaoke with her. She said the more the merrier. Kwok Pilong was about to say no so he could keep reading, but the kid was super excited. He thought this was a big part of being young. He turned to his senior right after that. He asked if it was okay with him. They made it to the karaoke place and got settled in, but Hunter Park was already starting to regret the invite. She decided to just roll with it though. She figured this was actually a perfect chance to get closer to her crush. Then someone asked our hero to sing a duet. He turned it down since he did not know the songs, so his student stepped up to take the spot instead. Park Jun felt super frustrated. She realized her whole plan had just fallen flat. So she flipped the script. She agreed to sing whatever song he wanted instead. Kwok Pilson picked a song called Return My Youth. He actually had a great time singing it. That weird song started playing and left her totally confused. Park Jae-hyun jumped a little when someone asked if she liked our lead guy. Her face went bright red because it was obvious she had feelings for him. She apologized for inviting them and said Kwok Pilson clearly does not see her that way. The mage grabbed her hand and promised to support her. Hunter Park was really moved by that. Kim started praising his master. Then, the old man shared that he was asked to be a singer once. The mage grabbed his attention. She asked him to head over to the comic shop with her friend. She needed help finding a lost wallet. Lee Jang-hyun tried to offer his help, much to the girl's horror. But the mage kicked him under the table. She just kept smiling and asked the old man again while everyone stared in total shock. Kwok Pilong thought about it for a second. He finally agreed to go, which really annoyed Park Gi. The guy with glasses was totally cheering her on, but our main character just watched it all in silence. The girl finally found her wallet. She thanked him for his help, but he just wanted to get back to the group. She was pretty surprised and said no right away. Then Wak Pilson asked if she needed help with anything else. That really made her tongue-tied. The hero asked what was on her mind. She started to panic because the opening her friend made was slipping away. She finally gathered some courage. Then Hunter Park asked the hero if he was currently into anyone. Wak Pills looked sad and said he used to be. She assumed he meant a relationship that ended badly. But honestly, she was totally shocked when she found out the lady already died. The marksman panicked and started apologizing, but he just told her it did not matter anymore. Hunter Park figured it must have been some kind of tragedy during a raid. Guok Pilsen shared this strange question with his second disciple. The girl looked at him, completely confused. The master shocked her by hinting that his pupil liked her. He even said they sounded great together during karaoke. She turned bright red at that. She quickly insisted that she was actually interested in someone else entirely. He got pretty curious and asked her if the guy she liked was someone he knew. She started to answer him, but she got totally overwhelmed. Her face turned bright red and she ducked into the bathroom. That honestly left the old man pretty confused. He just cannot wrap his head around how kids act these days. Things got pretty awkward in the karaoke room. With everyone else gone, only 2 hunters were left. The girl tried to break the silence. She mentioned that everyone else was running kind of late. Hunter Kim said his junior had been in the bathroom way too long. He was worried, but the mage just told him it was probably nothing. Meanwhile, the friend looked pretty surprised. She found herself standing right in front of a real stiff Jong Hyun. She assumed he was about to make a big declaration. You could tell her heart was just about to burst. But that excitement turned into fear real quick. An ominous presence popped up right behind her, and Jong Hyun started apologizing. The marksman turned around, and honestly he looked terrified. Park Jae started screaming right then and there. Lee Jang Hyun just watched him stay quiet. Wak Pilsen started wondering what was going on. Hunter Park had been in the bathroom for 30 minutes already. But then his phone started ringing. He picked it up and was totally shocked when the caller asked about Hunter Park. Wak Pils demanded to know exactly who was on the other end of the line. The caller just laughed at him. He said he was the one looking after his friend. He was talking to an old guy who clearly hated his style. The guy made it clear that Park Jim would be safe as long as he followed instructions. The hero had no choice but to say yes. The kidnapper sent over the address and told him to come alone. He hung up the phone, and his eyes were suddenly burning with a new fire. Later that night, in a quiet spot, the thugs gathered around their boss. He was getting pretty annoyed with waiting for our guy to show up. One of the goons finally spoke up. He asked the boss if their target was actually going to come at all. The boss looked furious after hearing that. Seeing his reaction, the poor guy started to panic right away. Suddenly, a hand grabbed his face and hoisted him right off the floor. It was the same person who had just tossed him aside. Then the guy demanded to be called guildmaster instead of boss. He made it clear they weren't just some random street gang anymore. The guildmaster used the moment to warn everyone about using that title. He reminded them they were a legal guild in the eyes of the association. So he told his guys to escort the man out, and then he just sat back down. Right then, one of his other guys asked him what the Northern Lights leader meant. He just sighed and started to think back on it all. Back at the Northern Light Guild, Ko Hung Hun watched with interest while his guys tried to block someone at the door. That former gangster just shoved his way right into the guild master's private office. It had been a long time since Su Wango saw Ko Young Hun. Naturally, he was pretty annoyed to see such an uninvited guest. The big boss came in with some wild gossip. He said a B-rank player actually took down the Northern Light Guild leader. The guild master was shocked. He told Su Wango he must be pretty bored if he traveled this far just to tease him. The gangster shrugged it off. He told him he really just stopped by because he wanted the scoop on that new B-rank prodigy. But Ko Young Hun gave him a serious heads up. He told the guy to stay away from the protagonist since they go way back. The guild master got a total kick out of being called a friend by an A-rank hunter. He actually started laughing his head off right there. He flashed a huge smile after that. He was clearly ready to prove Ko Young Hun wrong, and honestly, it looked like he was about to cause some real trouble. The former gangster was staring off into space until our hero finally showed up. That brought him right back to the real world. Guok Pilsen walked in looking like he had just completely run out of emotions. Su Guango jumped forward to greet him and made sure to mention how long he had been waiting. The old man did not waste any time and asked him where the young girl went. The gangster told him not to worry since she was completely unharmed. But the hero noticed she was not moving at all. That really freaked him out, so he demanded to know what was going on. Su Wango just calmly explained that she fell asleep. Turns out, the drug they gave her was the reason why. Whack Pilson stepped up. He demanded to know the gang's name and exactly what she wanted. Then the guy realized he never even gave his name. He introduced himself as Su Wango, the leader of the Grizzly Guild. Right on cue, our hero remembered Park Davin bringing this group up before. Su Wango actually took it as a compliment when the hero called him crazy. He wondered just how confident our guy had to be to show up all alone. But then the gangster mentioned how that was just natural for a legendary hunter. Our hero was totally stunned because it meant the gang knew exactly who he was. Su Wango just nodded. He figured he definitely would not have gone through all that trouble just to pull in some random B-rank hunter. The gangster pulled back the cover to find the old man. He nearly lost it when he saw he looked like a young teenager. Whack Pilson looked truly shocked. The gangster told him the association already knew about his return. Su Wango started wondering just how strong this hero was in his glory days. He remembered rumors about him leading the association. He figured that must be why they hated his guts. The gangster explained that the association hired him to take out the B-rank hunter. It felt off, so he did some digging and finally uncovered the kid's real identity. Guak Pilsung realized this kidnapping was just a setup to get him out of the way. But he was totally caught off guard when the guy reached out to shake his hand. He actually wanted to team up. Our hero just stood there. He could not wrap his head around what was happening. Su Wango explained that the association was a pain. They kept sticking their noses in his business, so he figured they could work together just because they both hated those guys. Guak Pilson figured a lot of things just weren't worth his hate. This definitely wasn't one of them. He wasn't about to let his own mistake end up hurting someone he cared about. The gangster actually apologized for using the marksman as bait. He claimed it was his personal way of declaring war against the association. But Guak Pilong knew better. She was clearly a necessary hostage for them, since he had obviously already refused their demands. The guildmaster actually gave the old man a pat on the back for thinking so fast. Then the hero chimed in, saying the gangster really was just as shameless as his old student warned. The gangster just smirked and told our guy he had a little surprise waiting for him. He walked over and left his master completely confused. It was none other than Li Jianghuen. The tough guild master laughed. He said the kid worked for him. Then he asked Guak Pilson what he thought about that little surprise. He told the old man to cooperate. If he does not, he said Part Jihan is going to get hurt. Guak Pilson made it clear he is holding onto that grudge forever. The legendary hunter was fuming, so he decided to teach the guild master a physical lesson. Whack Pilong told the thug to get ready, while our hero jumped back into the fight. The leader of Grizzly just laughed at the old man. He reminded him that he used to be the best hunter around. But he said the guy really let himself go. Being stuck at rank B meant he had totally fallen off. Then he told the old guy to brace himself. He was about to pay a real price for saying no. So the Grizzly master just gave the order for everyone to attack. That did not scare Guak Pilson at all. He dodged the first hit with no problem. Then he spotted a thug behind him. He ducked the blade and snuck around. One swift kick to the face took care of him. Whack Pilson turned his head and asked the Grizzly crew if they were finished yet. With that, the legendary hunter finally pulled out his sword because it was his turn to fight back. And our hero launched himself at the enemy while going straight for the boss. Su Wango did not even blink though. He kept his cool despite everything. To his total shock, that heavy thud actually stopped the sword attack. Su Wango told his enemy he was much stronger than they thought. It seems his old reputation was actually worth something after all. He pushed the old man's blade away. Then the thug told him the past will always be the past. He basically told the 80-year-old hunter to just accept his fate and give up already. The fight kept going right after that. They were trading blows at such crazy speeds that the thugs could not even keep up. The fight was getting more intense every single minute. Su Wango admitted he really underestimated the old man. He talked about his ridiculous strength and that sudden miraculous recovery. Guak Pilsung said his grudge was only growing. He hated seeing those polished skills being used in such a shameless way. The gangster decided it was time to get serious. He shouted and unleashed his iron will fist technique. His goons watched him and immediately started cheering. They were totally convinced that victory was right around the corner. Our hero just stood there without a care. He blocked the attack like it was nothing, leaving them completely shocked. A moment later, the gangster looked up and saw the old man diving right at him. Then Whack Pilsung finally landed a solid hit. The guild master screamed in pain, while his opponent didn't even look tired. Whack Pilsung told him he had terrible control for an S rank. He advised him to stop relying only on raw skills. That really brought him back to when the old man scolded him for that exact same thing. The gangster got sick of all these cocky lessons and signaled his healers to patch him up. He had to admit he underestimated our guy. It was clear the legendary hunter was still a threat. The guild master finally healed up. Then he asked to jump right back into the fight. He focused all his magic and hit a new power level. He lunged at our hero. He was sure the old man could not block him this time. But Guak Pilsen coated his sword in mana. The boss looked stunned. He was shocked that the old man blocked the charge and knocked him back. The thug got absolutely crushed and demanded to know what kind of crazy skill just sent him flying. But the old man just shrugged. He told him he only enhanced his sword with a little magic. Su Wango could not believe it. He got even angrier when the guy said skill power is all about the user. The gangster charged in again, but our hero just pointed out his sword looked pretty pathetic. That is when the S rank finally got it. The legendary hunter was gunning for his gear the whole time. The guy lost his weapons and got cornered fast. He turned to Li Jianghuan, looking totally panicked. The thug looked at the nervous kid and told him to kill Park Jihan if the old man stepped out of line. The boy was completely paralyzed. He really had no choice but to follow those orders. Then the gangster smirked. He asked his opponent what he planned to do now that his friend was in real trouble. And just like that, both the master and the student had to think really hard about their next move. The protagonist was in a tight spot. His opponent told him to drop his sword if he wanted to save Hunter Park. Whack Pills gave his ashamed student a weird look. He dropped his blade and asked the S-rank hunter if he was happy now. He nodded and said this was the obedience he wanted. He did not want to kill the kid, but he was not letting him walk away without a few broken bones. Then he charged straight at him. Whack Pilsung saw him coming and quickly landed a knee right on his face. The guy let out a sharp scream of pain. The hero adjusted his stance for a second. Then he delivered a massive kick to the guy's gut and sent him flying right through the wall. So just like that, Su Wango took a real beating. He told the old guy his threats against the girl were definitely real. Whack Pilong called it pretty rotten for an S-rank hunter to kidnap someone. The guy just shrugged and admitted he was not perfect. Then he ordered Li Jianghuan to cut off Hunter Park's arms. He wanted to prove to the hero that they were not bluffing. The young man felt pretty hesitant at first. In the end, he just could not bring himself to do it. This made his boss really mad. The guy demanded he finish the task again, and it left the kid terrified. The boy was ready to give in to his fear, but then his master suddenly called out to him. He decided to bring up the old dream that made him a hunter in the first place. He wanted to ask if this life of crime was really what he wanted. Hunter Lee started to waver. He remembered how much he used to want to be like the heroes in his favorite comics. The boss lost his temper seeing that. He barked at him to cut off Hunter Park arms. That put the fear right back into him. The boy gathered up all his courage. He finally decided to just let that knife drop. That act of betrayal really set the S-rank off. Su Wango lunged at the kid, but then he spotted the legendary hunter standing right behind him. Whack Pilong floored the thug with a fast flying kick. Now the guy is just lying there screaming in pain. The guild master was totally finished at that point. He finally admitted defeat just to save his own skin. But Guak Pailong knew better. He realized this guy only learns through pain, and that just asking him would never work. That brutal scene freaked the guild guys out. Their boss spoke up and said not to worry since he already gave up. The main guy just looked him over for a second. Then Su Wango made it clear he was letting him live. The man started begging for his life right there. He promised he would leave the old man alone for good. He was absolutely terrified when the hero lunged at him, but the blade just missed and slammed into the ground instead. And honestly, that was the last straw for him. Su Guango just passed out cold from pure fear. Whack Pilsen turned to his henchman with a look. He asked if anyone else still had a problem with him. To our hero, they all looked like a bunch of mindless idiots. Whack Pilsum told the men to drag their boss away if they wanted to avoid a real fight. Lijiang Huan just stood there quiet until he noticed the old man heading his way. The guy felt pretty ashamed that he had not called Guak Pilsen master, so he started apologizing for tricking him. But the old man stayed quiet and just slowly raised his fist. The kid was totally bracing for the worst, but Whack Pailong just smiled. He patted his student on the shoulder and told him he definitely needed to call him master. The young man was stunned. He could not believe the older guy actually forgave him after everything he had pulled. Guak Pilsen said nobody is perfect. He explained that scolding is just for people who refuse to own their mistakes. Then he added that Zhang Huan once talked about wanting to be like those heroes in comic books. The hero admitted that in his book, the main guy gets stronger after going through hell. He told his student that he actually looks a lot like that same hero. Those genuine words really got to Li Zhonghuan. The old man just shrugged and said it was time to grab Park and leave. So Hunter Lee stayed behind to wrap his head around everything that just went down. A while later, Ko Yang-hun looked pretty annoyed and asked why they were even meeting up like this. The hero admitted he just really needed to talk to him. Then he asked if that was a problem. The guy shook his head. He just thought it was interesting that Guak Pilsen picked the Grizzly Guild territory to meet. Ko Yang-hung walked through the door and was totally caught off guard. The Grizzly members started greeting our hero like old friends. The former thug just followed along without saying a word. He really could not believe what he was seeing. It felt all wrong, so he started getting pretty suspicious. So he asked Guak Pilsen if he joined the Grizzly Guild, but the old man said he would never join them. He told the Northern Light leader to follow him in silence. Ku Yang-hyun already had a pretty good idea of what was going to happen next. The young-looking guy just walked right into the office. He found someone cowering in fear behind the desk. Seeing that made the old man pretty annoyed. He told the kid to just hold his ground. Ku Yang-hun was totally lost. He could not believe this giant guy was apologizing like a total coward. The master of the 11th floor was shocked. Even though Siu Wangho was the weakest S rank, he was still one hell of a hunter. And our hero was casually scolding him for hiding like that given his massive size. Guak Pinalong claimed he beat up the gangster because he could not fathom why this guy was acting so strange. The old man remembered being told that this guy wanted his guild ranked higher. That is exactly why he had a deal to offer him. The leader of the Northern Lights looked totally confused. Someone just asked him to absorb the Grizzly Guild. Our hero argued that the Northern Lights would gain a lot of power, but the leader did not think it was right to absorb a guild that outranked his own. The protagonist found that pretty ironic. After all, the leader had forced plenty of hunters to join him recently, so he just turned to the guy and asked if he had any real objections. The S-rank hunter was terrified. He quickly agreed to the absorption and even offered to quit the hunting world entirely if that helped. But Whack Pilsong told him to stay. The guild really needed S-rank members, so he just went along with it. The current master agreed to the plan. Then they turned to the guy and asked for his own take. Koihun was really wondering why he got picked, especially since there was some bad blood between them before. Our guy went over the plan for his new team. It was all about taking the association down for good. Whack Pilsen stepped in with a wild idea. He wants the 11th floor to eat the 10th floor. Then they will become the very first. The old man looked back on his life. He always just wanted to build the best guild ever. So Koihun figured the guy was basically asking him to become his servant. But our hero cleared it up. He said that was not the case at all. He just genuinely wanted to help out. Kohun thought the offer was pretty ridiculous, but it still sounded tempting. So he went ahead and made his choice. The Northern Lights leader agreed to swallow up the Grizzly Guild. That news made the old man pretty happy. Right then, a guy burst into the room. He looked like he had something urgent to report. Turns out the association emissary is back. Apparently, he really needs to see Su Wango. That actually caught our hero's attention. Right on cue, the door swung wide open. Yun Duin checked on the guild master, and then apologized for dropping by so unexpectedly. Su Wango finally pulled himself together. He asked why they were dropping by out of nowhere. Earlier, our hero said they would hide nearby. He wanted the guild master to talk to the association envoy alone. The guy was shaking when an 80-year-old man cornered him. He told him to stop acting so suspicious. Back in the present, the tall guy suddenly demanded an explanation for why Yun Dukun was even there. He claimed he just wanted updates on the Grizzly Guild mission. He saw how fired up his bosses were about it. But then he got really curious when he caught the guild master letting out a huge sigh of relief. Su Guango turned to the violent crimes team leader. He asked why the Hunter Association was so obsessed with this one B-rank hunter. The guy flashed a smile and told him he did not owe anyone an explanation. Then Yun Duku Kaiun told him to just do as he was told to keep his guild ranking safe. The guild master knew it was a threat, but the man just shrugged it off like it was all in a day's work. After getting his message across, the leader of the violent crimes team headed for the door. Before he left, he told the Grizzly Guild leader he better get good results. That really ticked him off. But that annoyance turned right into fear. Guok Pailong popped out to check if the guy was finally gone. The old man actually praised the S-rank hunter for his pretty convincing acting skills. Wak Pilsong flared his aura for a second and asked if Su Wangle was planning to betray them. The hunter didn't think that was funny at all. He quickly insisted there was no way he'd stab them in the back. Wak Pailong pointed out that the association had zero honor. They only cared about the results, no matter what it took. He noted how they thrived on conflict between hunters. That made him realize the truth. The organization that used to protect hunters was totally corrupt. Now, they were even willing to hurt innocent people just to get ahead. Watching all of this happen, the guild master was left with a lot to think about. People kept wondering who our hero actually was. It made sense given the association wanted him dead at any cost. With that in mind, the old man made his choice. Wak Pilson decided it was finally time to stop hiding and strike back. Later that day, things got quiet inside a coffee shop. Our hero sat directly across from Li Jianghuan. Wak Pilsong brought up his old student and how he just walked away from the hunting life. The kid agreed with him. He said after thinking it over he realized he really wasn't built for this. But when Wak asked what he was planning to do instead, the boy just stared back and couldn't find an answer. Later that same day, the boy was waiting in the TV station. He was feeling pretty nervous about the whole thing. Li Jianhuan was acting pretty anxious, just like always. The man told him to relax and stay natural on air. He promised that his identity would stay a secret. All he had to do was just answer their questions. Then, Li Jianghuan found himself standing right in the middle of the news studio. The reporter told viewers that guilds have been up to some pretty shady stuff lately. He added that they have a special guest on the show today. Li Jiang-owen walked out wearing a mask and gave the audience a friendly wave. The journalist asked if he used to be in a big-name guild. He just nodded and said it was true. When asked about the guild's crimes, the kid finally confessed. He said their leader was hurting innocent civilians and forcing people to sign slave contracts. He was just about to spill the beans on his boss, but then a weird noise cut him off. The filming crew got really curious. One of them decided to go take a look and see what was going on. The guy reaches for the handle, but suddenly the door just flies open. It is that angry S-rank hunter barging in. Su Wango is not having it. He is actually furious that someone is secretly filming him. The guy tries to ask what is going on. He mentions they are on live TV to calm things down. Bad move. The hunter just grabs him by the collar. The S-rank hunter just shrugged it off. He asked the guy if he even knew who he was dealing with. Then he laid out a threat. Fetch that specific person right now, or you are going to regret it. That left the poor civilian looking totally caught off guard. He tried to play it cool and act confused, but his eyes gave him away by glancing at the door. That look was enough to clue the thug in. He figured the guy was hiding right behind that door. So he just kicked it open. He went charging in, ready to drag Lee Jang-hyun out into the open. Seeing this, the S-rank hunter started getting pretty annoyed. Su Wango shouted at Lee Jang-hyun to stop hiding and show himself. But right at that moment, someone tried to get in his way. The man said he, definitely, was not expecting to run into an S-ranker here. And it turned out the guy was none other than Yun Do-kun. Suddenly, the gangster realized he was completely surrounded by his enemies. The poor guy was pretty confused. He just assumed they were looking for a fight. Yun calmly reminded him they work for the Violent Crimes Unit. Someone tipped them off about a dangerous hunter on the loose. Su Guanggo explained his situation. He was just taking care of a former employee who tried to expose his crimes on air. The team leader said his behavior was a real problem. They could not just look the other way. But he was shocked when the guild master said that Lee Jang-hyun knew about their secret deal. Yun Do-kun called out the S-rank for acting like a barbarian. He said he was truly disappointed. But the angry hunter insisted it was all the association's fault for dumping their dirty work on him. So the team leader had no choice but to agree. He decided finding that kid was their top priority. When they asked about his fate, he made it simple. Just kill him so there is no proof left behind. Suddenly, the guys realized the guild master was not behind them anymore. The thug made it clear he was going to be the one to finish off Lee Jang-hyun. So the team leader told his crew they better start hunting for the boy too. That really made him lose his cool. Meanwhile, the guy we're talking about was hiding out in the dark. He figured he was in the clear, so he started wondering where Guak Pilsen went. Then Lee Jang-hyun remembered exactly how everything went down. Back at the coffee shop, his master asked about his future plans. The boy explained that switching career paths was tough after he had dedicated his whole life to being a hunter. The poor kid felt like he was just dumping all his personal failures onto the old man. Lee Jang-hyun turned to Wak Pilsen to ask why they were meeting in the first place. The hero said he had a favor to ask. That definitely grabbed the boy's attention. Back in the present, Lee Jang-hyun hoped his master would show up soon. He was stuck since he finished the old man's plan. Suddenly, one of the association guys tried to cut him down with a katana. He noticed it, but heard the sound of steel clashing before he could react. The master had actually shown up just in time to save his student. The kid was honestly thrilled to see the old man show up. The hero gave him a quick pat on the back for a job well done. He told the boy not to worry because he is finally here. Someone asked if the guy actually got away through here. The hunter just nodded and confirmed it. The team leader was clearly getting annoyed. He made it perfectly clear he did not have time to waste. So Su Wango just shrugged. He told the guy that making mistakes is only human. The leader told his men to get out, but a flying table missed his head by an inch. So it turns out the culprit was that S-rank hunter. He was dead set on keeping everyone trapped inside. Back then, even this super confident hunter was scared stiff. Someone asked him to make the association waste its precious time. He was so terrified of Guak Pilsen that he just said yes immediately. He really did not have a choice. Back in the present, the S-rank guy looks annoyed. He is really regretting that he ignored Ko Yang-hong's advice. Yunu Kai-hoon points out that doing this will make him a total enemy of the Hunter Association. The S-rank hunter then drops a bomb. He says there is actually someone he fears way more than the organization itself. So the head of the Violent Crimes Unit decided to take him out ahead of schedule. Su Wango was pretty annoyed again, because lately it seems like nobody takes him seriously. After they both admitted they hated each other at first sight, the gangster suddenly found himself surrounded by Yun Dukun's crew. So without a second thought, he just went for it. Su Wango told them they were way out of their league. Then he threw a punch that sent out a massive shock wave. The team leader rolled his eyes at such arrogance. A moment later, the gangster was stuck fast in magic chains. The S-rank hunter looked totally shocked. He finally realized his skill had him completely trapped. Then Yunuku Kaiwun spilled the secret to his promotion. He has a unique skill that can actually restrain the strongest hunters. The guy claims plenty of S-rank hunters fall for his slow chains. They are just too prideful to move out of the way. He gave his team the signal. They pulled the chains tight, and the poor guy started screaming. That was it. The Grizzly Guild leader just dropped to his knees right there. The team lead said that even weak fighters can win,